Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and it is time for another music review. And it has been a very, very long time since I've done one of these. But I wanted to wait to actually, review an album that actually meant something to me. Just reviewing random albums. For a while, I toyed with the idea of, reviewing like Beyonce's new album, but I decided against it. What would be the point of that? Obviously, long time fans of me that I'm not into that type of music. So I just would spend the whole video bashing her, and it would just be kind of pointless just to make a video to bash somebody. So I figured that I'd wait. I'd make a review of something that actually means something to me. So I listened to the new album from Mastodon, Once More Around the Sun. Now this is undoubtedly one of my favorite current bands, and now it's been 6 albums for Mastodon, and I can clearly say that this is probably one of my favorite bands of all time now. We're not just talking current, but they have surpassed a lot of older bands, in my opinion. I've never seen a band so consistent with making good music, and not only being consistent, but actually improve, get better. I actually feel like almost every single album they've done so far has been superior to the last, almost. Well, in most cases. Um, some of them kind of switch it around. Like, I thought Remission was better than their second album. But give or take a couple albums, it's pretty much been improvement as they've progressed. And some people classify them as progressive metal, and I guess that term fits because they are always progressing and they experiment. And anybody who praises them for their experimentation knows exactly what they're talking about. The people who bash them for their sound changing, those are the Metallica fans. Those are the same people that I talked about in my Saint Anger, defense video. The people that are scared of change, scared of implementing, new things into a band's, repertoire and their music. There's nothing wrong with experimentation as long as the experimentation is interesting and it's quality. There's nothing wrong with a band changing up their sound. As I said, it would have been boring if Mastodon just had all these powerful, riffs with these screamed vocals. You take a look at an album like Remission. There was barely any clean vocals on there at all. It was pretty much all just Brent Hines screaming at the top of his lungs, and it worked for that kind of music. It was a great album. But if they did that for a couple albums, it probably would have got old pretty quickly, or not really to say that, but they wouldn't have ended up being as great as they are now. If they didn't do a couple of little different things on the albums that followed, they probably wouldn't have got this far with their popularity, and I wouldn't be sitting here today praising them as much as I'm doing in this video, or about to. I think where it really, really took a big turn for them and they really started coming into their own was with Crack the Sky. That was the album that really changed them. They experimented, they calmed the vocals down a bit, they cleaned it up a bit, they did more of Troy Sanders vocals mixed in, and it just seemed to work. When they started sharing vocals, the band really improved. And you take a look at Crack the Sky, it was essentially a concept album. It was experimenting, weird themes, what the songs were about were just all euphoric, different, airy kind of sound that they implemented. Very different than, what they did previously, which was just pretty much, just more hard hitting, power chord riffs and things like that. Now they did experiment a lot, on things like, Blood Mountain, for example. They had things like Capillary and Crest, which that's a song that people need to, hear to believe. That right there, now that was a song that you could say previously to Crack the Sky. Really, you could see like a change in them. They were trying something very, very different there. Um, and I remember the first time hearing that song, I was flabbergasted at it. I didn't even think that I really liked it, but a second listen, I've noticed that a lot with Mastodon. A lot of their music, you gotta listen for a second time, to really appreciate and really soak it all. And I used to think that was bullshit when people said that, music has to grow on you. Well, sometimes that is bullshit. Most of the time, I think it is bullshit. A song has to grow on you. But with the case with Mastodon, I think it's because their music is so different, so new, that you're not going to catch everything the first time you hear it. There's so many little integral parts to songs, just little things that they do, little touches, little vocal touches. And they do that on, you know, Once More Around the Sun. You could really hear it. Two of my favorite tracks, the Mother Lode, and Ember City. I think these are just great songs where you could classify them as metal, but they really, really have like ripping, like roaring solos and these great, clean, catchy vocals. Now, usually catchy, you think poppy, but no, not really. This is a whole different type of thing that they're going for here. Almost like mesmerizing in the way the vocals are almost hypnotic. So you got Brent Hines doing, great riffs, great solos, and Troy Sanders with these great, almost euphoric lyrics. It's like you feel it in your chest, you're listening to something, quite breathtaking. The music is very breathtaking, I have to say. Really get to sit back and really appreciate all that you're hearing. They really do some phenomenal little things, and it's really the little touches that they do. Um, you know, you would think a song like Ember City, where pretty much the same lyrics are kind of being repeated throughout the chorus, and you might be like, some people will criticize it. You know that they're going to. You know that they're going to say, oh, this is too chorusy. Even use a word as poppy, even though it won't be correct. But you know that they're going to go for that. People complained about The Hunter, saying that they used too much, like vocal elements in it. And I really thought that The Hunter was a great album. Another one that made me listen to it multiple times. I know when I'm listening to an album multiple times, like back to back, I know that I'm listening to something that is truly quality. I mean, if you could sit there and listen to an album, constantly, consistently, you know that you're seeing something truly great. I mean, this album is just, it takes on a life of its own, and how could you really describe that? It's just because really there's nothing else like it. You could even compare, things like Metallica at times sounds like Testament. Testament sounds like Anthrax. You'll say thrash metal sounds a bit similar, even though they use different elements, different vocal patterns. But things like Mastodon, I really can't compare them to anybody else. I've never really heard anybody that sounds even remotely similar to them. And that is a very good thing. You've got a good band when you could not even compare them to anybody else. You can't even compare them because there is nothing really that sounds like them. That is the mark of a truly great band. In the world of music where everything has essentially been done already, every single thing has been done. You really can't say that there's anything really new out there. But this may not be totally new, but they used enough elements to keep things very, very fresh. Doesn't feel samey, doesn't feel anything like that at all. So this is a truly great album. I mean, this is an album that's chill at times, frantic at others, but always, keeps the same type of mood. Yeah, I always feel like I need to continue listening. It's never feel like I have to skip a track. None of that stuff. Other albums, yes, but not this one. I feel consistent quality throughout. All right, motherfuckers. This has been a music review. There will be a lot more to follow. All right.